Hi everyone, hello again. We are in the second episode to talk about AI and product management today. Great to see you again, Gleb, and thanks for preparing as well. Today we have an exciting topic of talking about skills. Maybe we can start to describe what skill is and what it isn't.
Yeah, and thank you for having me once again. So I guess we had quite an exciting discussion last time, so we're happy to continue that. Today we're gonna talk about product manager skills when using AI agents. It still can create a little bit misunderstanding of what exactly we are talking about here. So we will try to showcase some examples of how product management work can be automated with AI agents. And normally for that purpose, we use something that is called AI agent skills, AI skills, which is simply a piece of work that user, you, me, want an agent to do in exactly the matter you want them to do. So, for example, skill can if one prompts search me a flight ticket, right? So there are multiple different directions that an agent can go to. They can search at Skyscanner, or they can search on Kayak, on somewhere else. They can set the starting point from Los Angeles, right? So and search on the business class, or they can start from Berlin, where we currently are in, and search for only low coasters that are flying across Europe, right? So there are multiple different conditions, and if we're not gonna set them up at the very beginning, the task would be quite time consuming, and the results can vary.
What's the difference between skill and agent in this context?
An agent is simply a harness, right? So it's a description of how LLM needs to behave, plus what is called revamp. So it's kind of review cycle, which means that every time LLM does something, the cycle of review, whether it fulfills the initial goal, starts. So it can kind of self-amplify and self-review itself. So this is simply how, let's say, Claude Code difference from just using Claude in web.
So the agent is basically reviewing the work that it has.
Exactly. That's one specific difference between using an LLM directly versus using an agent. And the second one is that agent can call tools, what is called. Normally, it's like any kind of terminal commands, or you can fit simply everything in terminal. You can ask them to create files or update something on your computer, or it can be, I don't know, go into the certain web link and search for some results that this web link provides. So to simplify, agent has much broader capabilities than LLM, and it is built for the purpose to achieve the result the result of intent that user has. Skill in that context is kind of a set of instruction that you provide to an agent on how to behave in a certain condition. It's like you're a factory worker and you have a manual how to do something, right? So this is exactly the same. Going back to my example with the flight tickets, skills can define that, yes, first, by the way, you need to use Skyscanner only to find the tickets. I have loyalty program in Sky Alliance, right? So that is why Lufthansa is the preferred air company. Starting point should be always Berlin, and so on. So you kind of limit the variety of roads that an agent can take, so that the result would be much more predictable and faster to achieve to you, just because it can consume much less tokens.
I have a challenge question. Like, there is also a term workflow.
Yeah.
So there is a skill, there is a workflow, there's agent. Like, what is a workflow?
Workflow is much more, so skill is like simple set of instructions, right? So normally it is a a document simply where you have an explanation of how to behave. Workflow is more is a term in a more old-fashioned way, where you have the defined set of steps that you undertake.
Isn't that the same as a skill?
No. So the thing is that there is a difference when you are prompting an agent to do something in a certain way versus you define the algorithm. So it's like much more narrow and much more stricter level of control in the workflow that you provide. So it's like when you need to call tool A with the parameter ABC, then do the following, and so on and so forth. Workflows, I must say that they are much rarely used in skills nowadays.
Right. So currently, basically, workflow is like the most strict one. Then skill is like more broader.
Yeah.
And then agent even like it's
no. Agent is simply a tool. So taking an example of a factory worker with an instruction, skill is an instruction, and an agent is a factory worker itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And we're talking about product management. So in the product management, there is like different tasks that PM is doing. There is a whole workflow coming from defining product vision, product strategy, what team is doing, what company context there is. There is also the whole process of discovery and delivery. I will not list like all the tasks, but as we like come in here today, you selected top 3 or 3 that you would like to maybe explain and show. And I'd like to ask you, like, basically, what kind of tasks do you automate usually or try to use AI for developing the skills?
Normally, I would say that discovery has been affected a lot. So, for example, I would like to start from where I see the impact of AI the most and where skills are the most useful ones. So, like I said, the skills are intended to automate the repetitive tasks, right? So, and for me, I guess most of quite a substantial amount of time was taken for writing specs in any sense, starting from the strategy docs and ending up with defining the acceptance criteria for an issue or writing down the product requirements documents. So, so it's like transferring the information, the piece of data from insights or from analytics to developers was quite time consuming for me. And I guess this is something that I wanted to automate first. So right now I would say that writing specs is like the most automated piece of work for me, just because it became extremely easy for me to create quite a decent level quality specifications within just 10 minutes. Let's say. Then I would say prototyping also affected a lot. So like sometimes it's much easier and faster to explain the idea visually than writing the requirements down on paper. Normally in that
case, user testing as well with the prototypes.
It can be done, yeah. So normally, historically, what we did, we went to designers to do the prototypes, right? Or we were
like
doing
Figma.
that like Figma ones, yeah. Or we did it with whiteboard when we needed something really fast. Let's say when we are on the call and we want to communicate our idea. So right now, I guess on one hand, I can create extremely high fidelity prototypes easily. On the other hand, so these prototypes can be delivered extremely fast. So, and I guess and then you decide what to do with them. So sometimes I use them just to communicate the requirements, because indeed it's easier for developers and for stakeholders to understand what exactly I plan to do when they have a visual example instead of just set of bullet requirements in a bullet point format. On the other hand, I can do user testing with that. So like bring in the sometimes the prototypes that we're bringing to UX research right now are indistinguishable from the real product. So which creates which helps to imitate the real conditions much more.
So it's like the whole front end design system.
Yes,
and that's one of the skills that you wanted to show.
Yeah,
today,
yeah. So we're gonna talk about that later. Yeah. And the last one, which was extremely annoying to me previously, is that we have a lot of, just because so I'm working on B2C product, we have a lot of requests and bug requests coming up, and normally they are not. None of them are have a quite a high severity. So they can be about low frequently used features, or they can be about the part of functionality that we are about to deprecate. On the contrary, there could be quite significant security vulnerability. And normally, we used to do triage of this bug tickets like once in a week, and we had to go through a couple of hundreds of them, which almost took like 1 hour and a half.
Sounds like a daunting task.
Yeah, exactly. On Friday evening. Well, not the best time picked, obviously, but still, yeah. So this is something that easily can be done with help of AI, just because and with help of skills. I can provide the context and what is important, what is not.
Yeah.
And then
criteria.
And then it applies the criteria that I have against the list of issues and picks and an agent can pick up the most important ones.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and normally I believe the results, because in the 80-20 rule, right? So in most of the cases, it actually figures exactly out what we needed.
Okay, yeah. I'm pumped. I'm curious. Let's start with one of these cases.
Absolutely.
Which one would you feel the most interesting to show?
Let's probably start with how we write product requirements documents. Right?
Sounds good. It always starts with PRD.
Okay, so simply what I have here is an example of how right now I write PRDs. So this is the skill that is actually public, so we're going to provide the link later.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that is being called. So the skill looks like that. It's quite simple. So it's just a set of instructions of how PRD should look like, what are the rules, what is the drafting gate for boxes that need to be ticked in order to create one,
which can be also edited, like
depending
on the company and your needs. So you can also like
absolutely. It's a markdown document, which means that so it easily can be edited. So additionally, what is not shown here is that the skill refers to what I call a strategy doc, which is also in a structured way just a note where I have written all the priorities and subsystems, metrics, and strategic points that we are focusing right now on. And additionally, what are entirely out of our control and what we are not focusing on right now.
And this is like based on your team strategy, or it's something that you also like have company strategy and then you build on it?
It's normally like I try to provide as much context as possible.
Right.
So I have a separate section there on a company strategy. There is my team strategy. There is a lot of public documentation what kind of product I'm working on right now, and so what part of the product is my area of ownership. So I'm trying to, in this strategy document, I'm trying to explain everything that is related to my area of ownership and what area I'm focusing on right now, just because a lot of other things going to be starting relating on that.
Yeah.
So creating kind of a core document where one can, simply we all write like quarterly plans, right? So something like quarterly plans.
Yeah.
So like explaining a stranger what exactly you're working on.
That's like context, so onboarding, like
right.
Not the person, basically.
Exactly. And here the scale. So it's not so it's like is just the overview of one, just because there are all other things that are being called here. So, but here is simply the explanation of how a PRD needs to be written.
Yeah.
So, what I do is I call this the skill. I provide a link to an issue where we are working in, and then what I do is I simply try to use voice mode as much as possible. So I'm trying to provide kind of a brain dump. So like everything that I have on the matter, I'm just trying to talk it through. So it's not a problem if you repeat yourself, not a problem if you take the pauses. It doesn't really matter. So AI agent can figure it out, what is important, what is not.
That's a usual chat, basically. So you could like.
It's a usual chat. So pretend that you talk to a real person and try to explain what you do. So in exactly this format would be absolutely understandable by an agent. So, and the more context you provide, the better. So I already have UTrack. It's our internal alternative to Jira connected. And what I do is that I write directly into the ticket the requirements that are being created. So there is also a prototype attached. And what's happening next is that, so I'm doing a couple of iterations with what the requirements are about, trying to cover everything off top of my head.
Yeah.
And what it does later on, so it starts to ask me. So it already has some context written. So and what it does later, so it starts asking me questions, additional ones, and the level of depth of this question can be managed from on one hand, and can be managed in the skill. So it won't ask me, for example, for where the button needs to be positioned, but rather ask about the problem space or about the jobs to be done that I want to cover. So
it's actually one of the questions, because like it's like at which extent this PRD is created as on level of initiative, epic, or ticket.
So I guess it depends on every company, right? So
how you can explain how
deep it is. But normally, what I try to do is I try to leave as much freedom as possible to designers and software developers to define the details. That is why normally for me, PRD is about writing down the jobs to be done or user stories, like how user needs to interact with the scope that we are about to deliver.
So like defining the problem and the outcome that you expect.
The problem, the outcome, and so like user journey throughout the feature. Yeah. So, but I do not normally define the exact solution and the exact requirements.
Okay.
Yeah.
So solution usually would be then like next step for designer. Or,
it would be an ownership of design. So I can contribute to that, but yeah. So I don't feel. On one hand, it would be quite difficult for me to manage all the solution in a written format, and I do think that this would be much better to.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. It's like if that's you don't show it visually, so you have to talk with the skill. So that means it's like it's only in text version.
Yes, exactly. So, but it's like explaining what you want to do. Considering that we talk about user journeys here, so it's quite easy to be explained.
Right. So it's kind of like an interview process here.
That's right. So, and what it did is it just ran a couple of sessions of questions for me. I tell it when to stop. So when I feel that it starts to repeat itself, or it starts to ask extremely detailed questions that are
not relevant anymore.
That are not either not relevant, or I don't want that level of detail in my spec. So I just say finish, and then it just creates everything inside the ticket.
I see.
Yeah. Like I said, so the skill is public, so everyone can give it a try. So the only one thing that for me, it uses Jira or UTrack as a connectivity point. So it easily can be done by anyone. So you just provide a token to an authorization token that can be
to create the ticket.
So that an agent could authorize in your issue tracker, and then it's gonna figure out how to work with that actually.
Okay, and how's your team reacting for these PRDs? Like, are they happy with them? Like, is it clear enough, or they usually also need to set like questions back to you? Like, okay, can you explain that?
Obviously there are questions back to me. So and I guess it's fine because PRD is a living being, right? So you develop and specify the requirements as you progress, right? So it is enough for me to make a kickoff of the feature, and obviously based on feedback, so I can refine it again.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how it normally works. Yeah.
But generally, they like that there is a structure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So before, so what we normally do is that once PRD is ready and it's signed off by stakeholders, I show it first to our product design team. So we create a prototype for that requirements, and then with prototype and the PRD, so we can go to engineering team to present them the whole picture, like how it looks like, and here are the requirements in written format.
And I'm interested, like, if design team also using this PRD for feeding their AI to
Absolutely.
create prototypes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way it works. So actually, it's funny because I'm absolutely confident that like vast majority of my team does not read the PRD. So what they do is that they just feed it to their AIs and say summarize.
So it's again compression, decompression.
Compression, decompression. Yeah. So but considering that we use the same model, and so we all understand that there is a compression point when some details can be lost. So and we trust each other that we know how to use it, and we're not gonna summarize the 6-page of PRD into a single sentence. So I would assume that this is their responsibility to acknowledge that the spec has been read and it has been understood and nothing is missing.
Okay.
Yeah. The way they're gonna do that, I actually don't care. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that everyone uses summarizer here. Yeah.
So it's like ways of working is like quite strange. So you have like people in between checking in, like making sure that it's not complete bullshit,
right,
and then just like passing into the same system basically to next stage.
Exactly. It's like so there should be a human in the loop that reviews everything.
Right.
So and that's pretty much it. I feel so, and we talked about this with you last time, that the value of people who transfer the information from one point to another diminishes, right? So
kinda feels like it. I mean, in the end, it's like you have to understand.
Yes.
But like, why do you need to doing this?
Why you need a certain person that's gonna explain it
middle
to you,
manager.
right?
Yeah.
So that is why this whole information transfer point is actually, it still requires some supervision, obviously. But yeah, so I feel that it's gonna be the value of it is going to be decreasing. You're probably going to ask, so what is that if not information transfer, right? So just because
it is completely
it is information transfer, but so, and this is, I want to get back to what we discussed previously, that what also important for PMs is to have the judgment, and this is what we're going to be valued for.
Yes.
And so does not really matter how you can transfer the information, but the fact is that the judgment has been applied before transferring the information. So
I would even argue it's not just judgment, but even judgment of judgment.
Yeah.
In a way, because like as a people manager, it's always like, okay, you do this ping pong of are you sure like what you're thinking? Like, why are you convinced that this is the best idea?
Yeah.
Like, did you think about this and this and that? And did you talk to the stakeholder? Like, there is a level of context which you might be missing, or like it's just like, okay, it's maybe not as logical as you might think it is. So I would hope that AI can also like, okay, maybe the skill or improving the skill, it can also challenge you.
So and
to a certain extent,
So I guess this is a nice idea that I would need to try later on. So because challenging and
skill over skill.
No. So I guess it can provide critical thinking, right? So and we all use this AI's critical thinking in our day-to-day life when we are hesitant about certain decisions and so on. So why it can be applied to the judgment that we have. Yeah.
Yeah, totally makes sense. All right, so over the skill, basically it creates your PRD for a ticket, which then gets into, let's say, discovery loop,
Yeah.
And then development. And essentially it asks you questions until you say stop.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So, and you gave me the nice idea to try to apply some model AI's critical thinking to that.
Let's give it a try.
Yeah. The next one that I wanted to talk about is prototyping. So another example is, so we briefly touched the prototyping piece, and so I want to show how we develop the prototypes right now.
I can't really wait because I'm super visual as a person, so
Yeah.
I think like this is the
I know.
most interesting part.
One can be tired a lot of looking at the just markdown documents. I absolutely can understand you.
Text is great, but like show me something.
Yeah. So what the skill does is it's gonna prepare. So based on the inputs, like the inputs of what kind of product you're working on, if it's web, just a link, screenshots, and all that stuff, it creates the artifacts, the written, so it simply translates the visual explanation of a UI, so the way it looks, into the text format. So
how accurate is it? Like, I'm just like curious, how would you do this translation?
I'm gonna show you. Yeah. So the documents look like that, right? So it's just it defines the scope, it defines the layout in an HTML format.
It shows HTML, yeah.
And
CSS.
Yes. So it's like it's still instructions,
right?
But it's like set
formatted ones, yeah.
Formatted instructions of how the product looks like, and what it. So it explains my product, so the one that I'm working on, which is quite complex just because it's a desktop application. So you cannot simply provide a link to it.
Yeah, there's different level of visual.
Yeah.
So visual of the desktop. Yeah.
The skill, the skill itself can create these documents. So it does not create the prototypes yet.
Amazing.
So,
yeah.
But at the same time, so if you can see, so attaching this documents and just saying using these documents create me a prototype, extremely vague prompt with no details at all. So eventually what it did, it created me an accurate version of IntelliJ IDE. So, and as you can see, so there is nothing to showcase here, but so what it does, it can you can select the text, right? So you can type something in chat. So, and you can go deeper. And actually, so if you're gonna open the real product, which is a little bit broken for me, but still, so the real product looks exactly the same as the one.
Yeah, it looks absolutely like a copy.
Yeah. So, in other words, so the skill that we're talking about here, it's actually kind of a preparation to the work that is about to be done. So, and it can create like a foundation. So it's a skill to create something that you're gonna work with.
Right.
Yeah. So so what it does is it provides you an ability to with little details as possible create the prototypes that are extremely high fidelity. So you can explain the feature here. You can provide the PRD that you recently created here so that it would be represented in a visual form. So, and then obviously my favorite, voice mode. So you can reiterate on that, let's say move button here or not there.
My favorite too.
Yeah, so all these things, right? So everything that we love our job about, right?
Yeah,
so,
we love to talk, so.
Yeah. Simply it helps me a lot with not only bringing this up when user testing needs, right? So when I need to validate the idea, but also what I actually use much more frequently is communicating with stakeholders. Because when they ask what exactly you want to do in order to implement this, within like a single prompt, which is like 5 minutes, right? So I can create a prototype that actually visually explains them was the whole point. So, and this is the way it works right now. So simply create the PRD. So if I need to explain my idea visually, so I can take this PRD and with the files that I have shown, I can create a visual prototype. Not really care how accurate it's going to look like. So maybe designers would come up with a better solution to that.
Right.
But simply explaining the idea with help of visual prototype became much faster and much more convenient.
So you can basically iterate and like create different versions.
Yeah.
Which then you can just like, okay, show it without like spending too much time on actually adjusting this. Let's say you don't use Figma for this, you just like can chat.
That's right.
You can chat with it and using the skill to show it like how it would look like.
That's right. And after all, so this is still a prototype, right?
Right,
so
right.
It is. So you don't need it to be extremely accurate.
Yeah,
mostly because you don't really care about the button positioning here. So what you need is just to help you support other artifacts that you have about your idea.
Believable.
Yeah, make it more believable. Yeah. So and what I see is that people, stakeholders in particular, buy something that they see much more often.
Absolutely.
Because it somehow subconsciously we have much more trust if there is something visual presented to us rather than just a requirements. Because for the text you apply judgment. For visual, yes, you can apply your taste as a judgment, right? But at the same time, with the note that ignore the taste. So this is a prototype. Just think about the idea. So this is something that much more prominent.
What stops you instead of like going through this multi-step, but more like, okay, you creating PRD and directly transforming PRD into potential prototype?
Sometimes I do that. But bear in mind that previously we discussed that I avoid writing down functional requirements though.
Right. So you're kind of delegating this task still to, designer in this case? To use their expertise to come up with potential prototype versions.
Exactly. Sometimes it's quite a fun, I would say, to provide just jobs to be done and providing the product that I'm working on and looking how AI tried to solve this jobs to be done. Jobs to be done in their own way.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so it is fun. So and sometimes the solution might be entirely out of the design principles that we have in product.
That's AI.
Yeah, but still, so it's still quite a workable solution, just because somehow the job is solved. Yeah, so it might be solved in a wrong way in terms of design principles, but yeah, it's still you still can articulate the idea that you have visually.
How often do you use this skill?
So simply for every feature right now that we develop, so which is any kind of increment that is not, I don't know, additional context window or not something that is quite tiny, does not simply require testing. It is just a couple of sentence requirement. So for that purpose, if it's like something a little bit bigger or an entirely new concept that we are trying to solve. So for example,
small things that are still kind of like in Figma.
Yeah, small things are in Figma just because you don't need prototype.
You don't need.
So you just it's faster to be done.
Sense. Yeah.
Something where you feel that you cannot explain the requirements within a single sentence or within a single screenshot. So in that case, so we normally do that type of prototypes. So awesome. Like every second task, I would say.
Every second.
Yeah,
okay. That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah. What it also helps is that in IntelliJ we have quite a loyal audience. So and sometimes, for example, we can share this prototype with users even on Reddit, saying that yes, by the way, this is something that we are working on, and gather the feedback from the community.
Oh, that's amazing!
Before actually starting working on something.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it is fun. So it requires these are the specifics of the product, right? So just because not every product has a community on Reddit, right?
True,
But still,
true, yeah.
still, so this is it's still an option. So one can explore other ways how they can leverage this fast prototyping.
Which is part of discovery in a way. So if you can get a pre-beta version
Exactly
available, so people can check it
yeah.
out and play around. Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense. That's pretty cool.
Cool. Yeah, and the last one that I have is about prioritization. Third one, we're gonna talk about it. So without showing the screen, just because a lot of confidential information is shown there. But I wanted to talk about triaging the tickets. So normally, and I already said that
Triage is prioritizing.
prioritizing.
Yeah.
So prioritization problem. Normally we have I mentioned that we have Reddit community. We are working on B2C product. So which means that we have quite a lot of users who care a lot about the product, and they report a lot of bugs. So normally we have around, at least in my team, we have around a couple of hundreds of new issues being reported by users on a weekly basis, which is quite a lot. And we used to have this meeting that was like 1.5 hours long on Friday evening, when we just sit, 5 of us, and just going through all the tickets that were created over this week, understanding whether it's important and we need to fix it right now, or we can postpone that and it's not important. So extremely tiring activity, especially at 5 o'clock on Friday.
Amazing to automate.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing to skip it at all, but yeah, so probably the product gonna go in vain in that case. So remember we talked about the strategy document that I created, right? So remember that this is the document where all the priorities are being created. Adding something on the top about what do I think the most important ticket is, like the status is critical, right? Or let's say the user not only described the issue but also provided the logs from this machine, the analytical data.
So the quality of the bug that is
reported. The quality of the bug that is reported, whether the support team has already reviewed that and validated. So all this kind of decision-making criteria that are being put in a separate document that also I use against just a filter in Jira, so that with all these tickets. So simply the scale tells these are the strategic priorities.
Right.
These are the criteria for the bug to be prioritized. These are the tickets.
Yeah.
Find me 10 the most important ones.
Right. And find the proof why you think
and provide
this ticket gets higher in the rank.
Exactly, and provide an evidence.
Right.
So eventually what it helped me is that yes, sometimes something slips between the chairs.
Yeah.
And this is something that you cannot avoid when you're looking at with 4 of your colleagues, right? So
how does it work exactly? So you still use the same meeting on Friday just to view output of this skill, or
it became much shorter. It became much shorter. So the scale gives me 10 most important bugs.
Right.
So just because physically we cannot cover more than 10. Solve them within the following week. And what it does is just simply creates a Slack automation when it sends this Slack this tickets to our channel that yes, these are the priorities for next week to fix. So
and then in a meeting you basically review this list against your expertise, whether you believe this is true or not.
It's like now it's 15 minutes where we look at the list. Makes sense, doesn't make sense. We need to do something about that. Normally, it does make sense.
Right.
So and then the stickers go to engineering team. So we may assign the owners for these tickets then.
How much time it was taken before?
Like 1.5 hours versus 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 6 times.
Exactly. And so not only about so this can be applied not only to bugs, right? So one can write the same prioritization for features, let's say, right? So instead of providing the criteria why one thing that bug is important, you can simply replicate this RISE prioritization framework, right?
Yes.
So you already have all the information. Remember, strategy document, PRDs, additional document with criteria.
Yeah, exactly.
With
Depends on
criteria
the
for
team, like
prioritization.
RISE,
Yes.
ICE, whatever.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that prioritization can also, this is just a sorting task,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
So
yes.
by providing the criteria on which you need to sort the tickets, this can be easily automated.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
so we currently use it only for bugs only, but so there is a room for applying that to features as well. Reason why we're not using that for features is just because we normally operate with quite a bigger piece of scope. That is
Right.
That is
so it's like more context. So it's like very hard for skill to identify which one is more important than the other, or
no. The answer is easy. It's just because the amount of features that we take in a quarter is quite limited, like 5.
Okay.
Right. So which means that and there are a lot of inside. So it's like the tree. So which means that it's quite easy to be prioritized with the human hands, not.
Okay,
there's no need in automation.
Right.
That, yeah.
So in this case, it's just like not hundreds of them, so you can like,
Exactly
process them.
It's not like
normally.
the flat list.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you use also AI or potentially like thinking about skills, like in terms of discovery? We were talking about like creating PRDs.
Yeah.
But even like coming up with ideas. I mean, fixing bugs, that's obvious, but coming up with ideas.
Yeah.
Of what potentially could impact your metrics and drive your strategy. Have you considered also, like, based on the context that you have, come up with some ideas that can...
So I see how it can be automated, but the way we use that is it's on a little bit earlier stages. So we count a lot on qualitative type of researchers when we just conduct the interviews. So. And normally before the research cycle starts, we have a research brief, right? Yes. So you need to explain what kind of problem you want to solve. You need to explain what is the outcome, what are the hypotheses, and all that stuff, right? So you have this doc, and let's say you recruited 10 people and you interviewed them somehow. So what we normally do is that we have the recordings of these interviews. And we provide them to the model, to AI, to transcript them and validate the transcript against the research brief that was provided. So whether the hypothesis A was proven in the research, whether the hypothesis
So you're trying to find the proof from these interviews, and then you have output or outcome in this case, like whether which hypothesis makes sense more or less, or not proven at all, and then you drop this, and then you prioritize those that get proof.
Right. So it's more about like processing the amount of information that we receive during the interview. So this,
but not creating hypotheses though.
Yeah. So we're not. So it is possible to be done with that, right? So, but so the creation of hypotheses is normally being done right now. So we don't have lack of ideas. That's probably why that
lack of resources, I guess.
And so after all, everyone loves to make hypotheses, right? Everyone loves to think about the ideas of how to improve the product. So and I feel that there is no limit of imagination to create this hypothesis.
Oh, that's good, brother.
Yeah. So I understand that it might be different from company to company. So what I'm trying to say is that for us, I guess we are more like swamped with the ongoing work rather than understanding in which direction we need to move. So that is why the actual scope needs to be sorted out rather than understanding what kind of direction we need to go.
That's true. Focus.
Yeah.
So we reviewed today basically the context in terms of like strategy. So like where companies going, strategy of your team, and what your team should be focusing on and what it shouldn't. Then with this input, you basically presented already one skill which is connected to create the PRDs, like product description, like for like whatever new epic you want your team to work on. Then we were talking about transforming this into actual designs, so prototypes that feel very real and can be used for, let's say, bigger tickets, where it's not small change, but bigger change.
Yeah.
And then in the end, prioritizing bugs as well, based again on the strategy and also different criteria, which you can document then in the skills, in this case.
Yeah.
That would be important for your team to review.
Yes,
right.
That's right. Yeah, so like I said, so I try to depersonalize the skills that I have and publish them on GitHub, so everyone can give it a try. So it does not contain any kind of my product specific data, just because it's just simply irrelevant to anyone. And there is a clear explanation how to tailor it to each team's needs. Yeah.
If you would have like one advice for someone who didn't start testing skills yet in this job, what would be your recommendation?
So for me, it's just fun to do that kind of automation. And so my piece of advice would be just to find any type of task, even it could be quite a minor thing, that you feel that you do quite on a certain cadence. If you do that on a certain cadence, so this can be automated. Just try. So maybe the result would be mediocre in the very beginning, but you can reiterate. You can make it a little bit better, and then some passes later, so you would get the quality that you would love to have. And yes, we just
iterations
continue. So for me it's fun. So, and I really enjoyed when I felt like so I don't need to write anything with my own hands anymore. So I really laying on the sofa, dictating the requirements documents. Amazing. So it started to be much more
management.
Fun. Yeah.
There used to be continuous discovery. It feels like continuous, I guess, I don't know, skill creation and agents and improving the skills. That becomes like a new kind of mode for current product management.
That's right. And what I also want to add is that so the skill set in that case is extremely tailored to a certain person. So what works for one cannot be worked for another. So the ones that I talked about, they are quite general, right? So they still need to be tailored. So and I see it evolves into the point where everyone has their own tool set that is kind of somehow on a high level the same, but every skill is extremely personal for every product manager.
What an amazing finish, because I think like this is essentially important for everybody to really think critically what you're trying to solve, and then this iterative mindset. I mean, that's what this job is all about. Trying to understand what you're trying to solve and then iterating until you find something that works for you.
That's right.
And with that, again, thank you very much for taking the time and showing how you work, how you apply the skills. It was extremely interesting. I'm very sure it will be interesting for listeners as well. And with that, I would say thank you very much and for listening, and please subscribe. More content to come about product management and AI.
See you later.